Hi there, YouTube. I wanted to start this video out with something pretty, and so I thought we would start this in the dahlia field because it has just exceeded my expectations this year. We have gotten hundreds of cut flowers already from this, and there's probably 150 blooms sitting here in this field, and I have not deadheaded this in only 5 days. So it is pumping out like hundreds of blooms like every couple of days, and I can't keep up with it at this point, but it's kind of a good thing that I haven't really kept up with it because now I can show you guys all the dahlias in this field. So I guess we'll start with the one right in front of me, this red one, which I'm not sure what the variety name is, but it has these massive red blossoms that sometimes they have like a little streak of yellow in them, I've noticed as well, in particular as they age. I'm not sure what the variety name is, like I said, because this was supposed to be Cafe au lait, but it is super prolific. There are tons of blooms on every single plant. There's a whole row of them over here, and they've just been pumping out blooms after blooms after blooms, literally. Probably one of the most productive dahlias we planted this year. This one over here has been a nice surprise. Look at that. I love the extra petals in it and the colors. It is so pretty. I'm not normally a huge fan of the single ones like this, but even those are pretty because the bees really, really like the single ones. We have a Cafe au lait right here, which I am so excited about. You guys, this whole row was supposed to be Cafe au lait, and I'm just glad to have some that are actually Cafe au lait. This is the prettiest dahlia. I totally understand the hype around it. And here's what I'll say. Normally with light colored dahlias, the petals get very damaged by bugs very easily, and for some reason this one comes out completely unscathed. Like, this is completely blown open. Like, you can even see the pollen center, and the petals are like completely intact, which I find to be very, very interesting. Then we have this row right here, which this has definitely been the most productive variety, I would say. And this is Kevin's Floodlight. It's a dinner plate style dahlia, and they are absolutely beautiful. Bright yellow color. Normally I'm not like a huge fan of like a highlighter yellow, but the form of these is absolutely beautiful. And nice long stems, as you guys can see on these ones as well. These have had the longest stems out of any of the dahlias that we've planted. Yeah, so I definitely think I'm gonna be saving these tubers and growing this again because it's been really productive. This row right here are Seattle dahlias, and to be honest, they're not my favorite because, as you can see, the bugs really shred the petals on these. So none of them end up looking great. I've only cut maybe 3 out of this whole row that looked good, so that's kind of disappointing. We do have this one in here. I don't know how you're gonna step into, but we have this one. This is supposed to be a Seattle, and it's not. It's kind of a happy accident though, because that lavender color is really, really pretty. And then we have this row right here. These are Evelyn, which are a white ball dahlia that have the slightest bit of purple on them. And these have been really, really nice too. The bugs do get to them if I leave them for too long. Like, you can see this one is looking really scraggly on the petals. I've also noticed that these, out of any ones, have the most earwigs in them. Like, they love to bury up into the tiny, yep, there's one right there. They love to bury into those tiny petals. So what I kind of do is every time I cut them, I like turn the bloom upside down and kind of tap it a little bit on my light colored dahlias, because even though I bait with Sluggo Plus, it's not like 100% effective. So I still find a couple of earwigs, but it's not as big as when I don't treat for it. This is the Blown Away Dahlia by Floret, and it actually, I don't have a bloom to show you, but it really started to form really, really tight blossoms that weren't showing the center immediately. So that was really, really interesting. Oh, like that. Because these two are the same right here. I've grown dahlias before, but I've never grown them in a field like this or in this location. And something I've learned is that over here, it's just not enough sun. Like, these plants are incredibly short. We've not gotten any blooms off of this row at all. Barely any off of this row. And if they do bloom, they're really tiny blossoms, which I think is just an indication of inadequate sunlight because they're so small over here. It's just not been very productive. The most productive one has been this one. And even still, it has not been near as productive as anything in the rest of the field. So I've learned not to do dahlias over here near the pear tree because it's just gonna cast way too much shade. We have a bunch of single dahlias over here, just regular yellow dahlias. We have another one of those really special ones right there. It's almost about time for me to start marking these so that we know which ones to save and which ones not for next year. But I really think we're gonna keep most of the field. I've grown attached to a lot of them, even the single ones. Unless they're just like absolutely plain. Any of these with like the markings on the back, I love. So we're definitely gonna keep these. But any of these, we'll probably get rid of, where it's just a basic yellow. And this is probably my favorite dahlia out of all of them this year. This is Zingaro. And here's what I'll say. The blossoms are absolutely beautiful. Like, the coloring is so pretty. That pale pink to bright yellow with white in it is just gorgeous. And they're very, very productive plants. My only problem is stem length. These did not give the strongest or longest stems, so they're kind of really, really short, and I just kind of have to tuck them into arrangements. You can even see in the whole field how short these are compared to a lot of the other dahlias. And I don't know if it's just a variety thing. I don't know if maybe I put them in maybe the wrong spot in the field. Maybe they need to be further up where they'll get a little bit more sun. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely gonna grow them again because they're absolutely beautiful, and they were my favorite even if they do have short stems. And that's the dahlia field. I'm really impressed with it. I mean, it's given us way more blooms than we've known what to do with, and I've been able to give away a ton of flower arrangements, and it's so pretty to be able to see the dahlia field from our kitchen window over there. And before we get into the rest of the garden tour, let's just go ahead and hit all the dahlias over here. This one has been really interesting. It just started to bloom within the past couple of days. We have some basic yellow ones in there, more basic yellows, but they're kind of ruffly, which I kind of like a little bit more than some of the more single ones. And the color is nice. This is like a nice pale buttercream yellow. We have a pink one right here. Kind of more magenta color. And then we have this one, which is kind of pink that goes into yellow. And then we have a couple over here. We have this one, which has eyelashes, and it looks like brush strokes, literally. We have this one right here. And then we have a couple that haven't bloomed yet, and then this one right here, which is kind of more of a doubled yellow one. And that's it for the dahlias. We have our climbing rose over here, the Kiss Me Kate rose, which has grown so tall we can actually see it from the kitchen window, which is so exciting. I need to do some training on this because it's grown quite a bit, and I think we can actually get it over this side now, which is exactly what we wanted to do. I just have to make sure that the canes aren't crossing like they are right here. You don't want your canes to cross because you can end up injuring the canes with each other by having them cross like that. So we'll have to uncross these and train them up onto the building. But I'm so glad that it's doing so well. And then we have our boxwoods over here that we just installed recently. We still need the fourth one. And Matt is going to dig this out, and I think we're going to make this a quatrefoil bed. So at first I thought that this was going to be a square, but instead I think that this is going to be a half circle right here, so that there's a half circle, and half circle, and there'll be points at the end to make a quatrefoil. I hope that that makes sense. I'll put a picture of a quatrefoil up on the screen in case you've never seen one. But that's the plan for this area. And I like the idea of that because it'll make the pathways curve, which I think will be really interesting. And we have the fountain all nice and clean for you guys. The urn doesn't look good because it's just that time of year. It's the end of August. Things are starting to look spent, but at least the Purple Majesty millet, I think that's what this is called. At least it's looking good still, and it'll dry and it'll look good all the way through the fall. And I have seen birds eating seeds off of the little combs up there, which is really, really interesting. All of the boxwoods that we installed earlier this year are doing really, really well. Other than this row on this side, these 4 right here actually weren't brand new plants. They were transplanted from other areas, and you can definitely tell the difference. I think that these went into shock, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to replace them. We're just babying them and gonna see if they're gonna green up and actually be healthy. But if not, I think we might have to replace these 4 boxwoods, which is a shame. The climbing rose that we trained just recently, look at all the new shoots that are coming off of it. There are new shoots all the way across the cane, which is exactly what I wanted when I trained it horizontally. There are also thick new shoots coming off the base, which is amazing. So I think our training and pruning of this Eden climbing rose was a success. Now let's go look at the veggies, because there's a lot of veggies to look at, actually. Actually, we'll start with these 2 flower containers because they're looking really, really, really good. These are dwarf marigolds. They're French marigolds and alyssum. That's carpet of snow. Alyssum, I think is what it's called. No, royal carpet. That's what this is called, royal carpet. And it smells amazing. It smells like honey. I'm really impressed with how big they've gotten and how big these marigolds, like that's 1 plant. That is 1 marigold. That's 1 marigold. That's 1 marigold. Like that's crazy how big they've gotten. And they are planted, look at that, in this tiny, tiny little metal circle, and the plants are all the way out to here. Like, sometimes it like literally blows my mind how well plants do in small containers. I think it's because this one's an open bottom container, but wow, that's really, really good. Did not expect these to look as good as they do. Okra, this is Matt's thing right here. I don't even eat okra, but I do find it to be a really pretty plant. I do think it's a little bit too close to the pathway though. I think next year we're gonna edit this out. I don't like the feeling of walking down pathways where I can't see what's next to my feet, particularly after last garden tour where we had that visitor that we didn't want in our garden, AKA a snake. I like to be able to see my pathways, and with this, it's just a little bit too narrow for my comfort. So I think not gonna do this next year, but we have some really cool mushrooms, look. That one, and then we have one in here too. And then there's the tomatoes. This is crazy insane. I didn't even know it got like this, truly. I didn't even pay attention to this earlier today, Matt, when we came out here. Like, I literally didn't see how massive this thing is, and the trellis just looks stupid. Like, that literally, it's just being ate, like, by the plants. There's 3 cherry tomatoes, and I wanted it to be a rainbow cherry tomato tree, and it definitely is that, and it's given more than enough cherry tomatoes. Like, you can only eat so many cherry tomatoes, but we're still harvesting them, and we'll use them in sauces and stuff like that. It's just like buffer tomatoes to aroma tomatoes. But you guys can see in here, there's tons of sun gold tomatoes in there that are ripe. We have tons of super sweet 100s. We are gonna be doing a massive harvest right after this video, literally. Tons of cherry tomatoes in there. Yeah, this got way too big. We will not do this again. Next year we'll do 1 cherry tomato plant for an obelisk, not 3. That was my idea, so I have to take credit for that. Another cherry tomato. Oregano. This is a ball oregano. I think it's spice oregano. It's been so pretty. It's just stayed in this nice little ball. It has bloomed out, which isn't ideal. I was chopping the blooms off, but honestly, the blooms are kind of pretty. I think it's pretty, and it smells so good. Every time I do this, I'm like, oh, that smells so good. Look, our Peonies that we planted earlier this year, you can actually see them. There's one, there's another. Hostas are coming up. 1, and there's another one over there. And we have tons of tomatoes on every single plant. We'll just kind of breeze through these really quick. This is the mortgage lifter. No, it says mortgage lifter, but I don't think these are mortgage lifter. I think that these are Roma tomatoes. Then we have the vintage wine over here. This tomato is really pretty. Look at those stripes. We grow this one every year, and it's always one of the most prolific tomatoes, and it always gives the biggest tomatoes as well every year. And I find it to be probably the prettiest tomato we grow too. So vintage wine, definitely grow that one. More Roma tomatoes. We have a celebrity tomato. There's an early girl tomato. They all have tomatoes. We have tons of tomatoes. Let's move on from the tomatoes before I get swallowed by them. We have a marigold container up here. This needs to be deadheaded, but it has been really pretty all season long. There's a couple of geranium blossoms at the top. Those need to be deadheaded. Probably won't do that again. I'm pretty much out. Okay, I'm pretty much done with geraniums. I've grown them for 4 years now, and every single year that I grow them, they just don't do well. Like, they just do not do well for me, and I'm just over them. I feel like I can find other plants that will bloom a lot more often and just look good. Like, they just don't have enough bloom power for me for an annual. So I'm done with those. This urn right here was a tidal wave purple petunia that has gone to seed. Now, this is really rare for me. Like, I don't see my wave petunias go to seed like this very often. If you zoom in, you'll see seed pods everywhere. All of those little dried pods are just seed pods. And if I take one of them, all that right there, those tiny little dots are seeds. So I'll be able to save tidal wave purple petunia seeds very easily. And as you can see, one pod has like 50 or 60 seeds. So I'm really happy with that. And we've had this reseed in our garden before, and they did come back true as far as performance and color. So I'm really excited that I don't have to purchase tidal wave purple anymore. This urn is doing a lot better. It has not gone to seed yet at all. And this is 2 tidal wave purple plants, and that's it. There's a coleus in the inside that's been ate up, but yeah, that's the power of wave petunias. They are so prolific, so productive. Cannot recommend them enough. And you can grow them from seed, which saves you so much money compared to just going to the store and buying petunia after petunia after petunia. Try the tidal waves because they are really good plants. This one doesn't look as good, but it still looks like, I think that this would recover if I was to like really baby it. It just splayed open. There's a lot of fresh, healthy growth all the way around this container. It's just the top of it looks really depressing. So this one will probably get pulled because I'm just tired of looking at a container that looks so flat. This is a, what plant is that? Loofah. Yeah, it's a loofah. We didn't get any loofahs, so I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty late in the season, so I don't really have much hope. Look at this zinnia. This is a precious metal zinnia by Floret, and look how big that bloom is. Like, I wish, like, size comparison, it's huge. It's like the size of my fist. And look at the color of the back of the petals. How it's like green with pink, and it almost looks metallic. So neat. I can totally understand why she named that precious metals, because it does have like a metallic, icy vibe to it. We have our volunteer snapdragons still holding on. Our frosted explosion grass, this looks beautiful. I heard something back there. I heard something move back there.
Grasshoppers?
No, it was something bigger than that, and it was like over there. I'm really good about that. Like, I hear things like that. There's definitely something over there. Anyways, the frosted explosion grass looks absolutely amazing. I want to grow this in the landscape, I think, next year, because it just looks so good. It reseeds heavily, though, so you do have to be aware of that. But, I mean, who cares if it looks like this? This is so pretty, and it adds sparkle to every flower arrangement I put it in. We have more zinnias right here and some straw flower that I never even harvested. I just kind of let go. Those squirrels are going crazy over there in that elm tree, and it keeps distracting us. We have more very large tomatoes over here, more peppers, tons of peppers. We've had a really good year with peppers. Like, I think that this is our best year for peppers yet. Like, we normally don't have the best luck here in Colorado with pepper, or at least we have not had the best of luck, because the growing season is quite short. The heat takes a little bit of time to come in here, and peppers like it to be hot. So we tend to struggle with them. But this year we've gotten really, really good ones. And then we have our green bean field over here. This is all Blue Lake bush beans and Blue Lake improved bush beans, I think is what it was called. Something like that. But you can see there's tons and tons and tons of green beans in here. We definitely need to get to harvesting. Yet again, there's a lot of produce out here. It's been tough to keep up with it, truly. We've never grown this much. We just put in these fields last year. Like, this whole area was just lawn, so we've never grown this much produce before on our property, and it's truly been almost overwhelming, the amount of stuff that we're harvesting. Like, it's just like baskets and baskets and baskets full of tomatoes every week. Like, our deep freezer downstairs, half of it is already full of just produce that we've grown this year. And that makes me really excited, but it also makes me feel like I got a lot of processing to do.
It's a bird.
Oh, it's a bird in the sunflower. Look at that. He's just enjoying the seeds. That's what was back there. Yeah, that was the sound I heard too. But yeah, as you can see, the sunflowers pretty much destroyed this bed because they came tumbling down. They were beautiful while they lasted, and the birds are obviously enjoying the seeds. I cannot believe that bird is just sitting in there, just like going from petal to petal, just like eating the seeds right in front of us. But yeah, it's been pretty, but not anymore. It needs to go. I've told Matt that he was supposed to remove this last week. You didn't remove it.
I removed one of them. There's 3.
Mm-hmm. I see 2.
I know.
There's this zinnia right here. This is the Alpenglow. As it ages, it just looks more and more tie-dye to me, which is really, really neat. And I know that this is like water damage. Like, where the water hits it, it like discolors the petals, but it doesn't look ugly at all to me. And it's been really productive. Yeah, that's it for that bed. I feel like at this point in the season, my garden, it just looks spent. Like, I just feel like there's just not a lot going on. Yeah, we're gonna do a walk around the neighborhood this week because I just feel like there's not that much to show you guys. Like, there's truly not. We have a bunch of squashes over here that are overgrown that we're saving for decoration. Lots of warty squashes. We've harvested tons of cucumbers from this bed. This bed's been really productive for us. It's done really good. You guys want to see something sad? That blue spruce never stood a chance. It has died every day that it has been on my property. Like the day that it came was the day that it died. Like it just started dying slowly, slowly, slowly. Before I even planted it, it just started dying. That, and then there's a dwarf mugo pine up there. Those are literally gonna get returned because we purchased them this year for full price, which was not cheap, and they just took a bad turn, even though they're on irrigation. I don't know what happened. All right, I've shown you guys the veggies. I've shown you guys the dahlia field. Let's go up to the front and I'll show you guys what's going on there. But I'm warning you guys, it looks spent. Like, I feel like my garden looks spent this time of year, and we're going to tour my neighborhood this week to find plants that will look good in around September. I know that it's just this like time of year, literally, that everyone's garden starts to look spent. It's literally almost September, but I need to get some more inspiration because I feel like I'm missing some gaps. I told you guys this back alley would look like a photo shoot, and literally look at this. Like, if this does not look like a photo shoot to you guys, like this is absolutely stunning. I know that it's like gotten knocked over quite a bit. You guys missed the peak of it, but this is gorgeous. We have bi-colored ones like this. There are tons of solid yellow ones. All of these are multi-flowering sunflowers, so they just keep putting off more and more blooms. I couldn't be happier with this area, and we didn't have to do really anything. It just pretty much self-seeded itself. I added a couple of sunflowers to it, but that's literally it. I'm really, really happy with this area, and I've seen so many birds back here, so that's always gratifying as well. Coming around the corner, we have our Rudbeckia over here. It's starting to look spent. I've kind of gone in and chopped a lot of the most egregious flowers already, but it's really just starting to look spent. I feel like this looked better a lot longer last year, but I also feel like it was a lot cooler last year. So yeah, that just looks like it needs a nice chop back at this point to me. This grass is doing really well, and it's finally putting off some plumes. Our wisteria never bloomed, but it did put off a lot of growth, and truly, even if it doesn't bloom, I like the structure that it gives on the fence. It just makes this place feel way older than it actually is. And I also like harvesting the vines because they're really nice to make wreaths out of. Lots of spent perennials that have been cut back. The salvia's going for it again for the second time this season. Yarrow still looks really good this time of year. The redbud looks amazing, obviously. This is the flamethrower redbud. I feel like I have to shout this out every single garden video that I ever did because it's my favorite tree that we have. The arborvitaes here have put on a lot of growth this year and look really, really healthy. Super excited about that. Blue fescue grass looks good as well, and the plumes are really, really pretty on that. I think that this will look great in the fall time. We have some dianthus here. It never bloomed, but it looks really, really pretty, but it did not bloom for us this year. Finally cut back all of this verbascum. That looks a lot better. This actually looks really good at this time of year. This is agastache right here, and it's still looking amazing. This needs to be cut back, this Veronica. This looks a little messy to me. This needs to be cut back, another Rudbeckia. And all of the hanging baskets I've been disappointed with this year, just because I feel like the containers are too small and they're not holding enough water for long enough to look good. You live and you learn. Oh my gosh, I almost tripped. Our redbuds are doing really well. These are all eastern redbuds, and they put on a lot of growth this year. Our birch has put on, or no, not birch, aspen. Aspen. Our aspen tree has put on a lot of growth this year. It's so tall, like it's double my height now. And when we put it in, it was like here, right? It's like here. It wasn't like that tall. It was like a bit taller than me, but not like super tall. It's put on a ton of growth this year. Heuchera looks pretty still. Oh, look at this. This is our first bloom on this oak leaf hydrangea. This is the ruby slippers hydrangea. You can kind of see it starting to get that ruby color. Super excited about this. And it's put on a ton of growth this year. This thing was like a twig when we put it in, so I'm really excited to see the progress. The Tamukiyama Japanese maple hedge is still doing just fine. All of them are still here. All right, we're at the exterior of the grass pathway just to give you guys some perspective, but the coleus spot right here is doing really well. The counterpart has not all season long. I think that next year I'm gonna do some type of like sedum or succulents in these so that they will be the same. The butterfly bush standard is starting to bloom. There are buds or flowers all over. Such a pretty color too. I like that like light lavender blue color. Super pretty. We have our phlox. They're still holding on strong. Sage and oregano still look amazing. I feel like I say that in every garden tour. If you want something that's just gonna look good in your garden and it smells good and you can eat it, grow herbs like sage and oregano. They look so beautiful and they smell great too. And they bloom and they have like interest all year except for winter when they die back. And then we have a lot of perennials that are just cut back. We have columbine that's cut back, echinaceas and daisies that have been cut back. We have rudbeckia that's been cut back. We have seed heads of our coneflowers. I like to leave those for the birds. And because they just have like some architectural interest in the wintertime, I like that spiky cone head. We have our delphiniums. Those have just now started to put out their second flush. We cut those back probably, 2 weeks ago? And I'm really excited to see new blooms from them. They're so pretty. They've been probably one of my favorite things this year. Willow has grown a lot this season. I cut back the calendula, but it looks terrible. Like it just has powdery mildew everywhere. These day and night snapdragons. These are a perennial snapdragon, and you guys can see that it just like put off a ton of blooms. And this is the third or fourth time this thing has bloomed this season. Like I just keep cutting it back and it just blooms, and cut it back and it just blooms, and cut it back and it just blooms. Highly, highly recommend this. And it did come back for me, so I'm definitely gonna be adding more of the day and night snapdragons. The Nicotianas actually look really good still over here. They're in some areas it looks a little bit seedy, like they've already put on their seed pods. This summer gold dogwood looks really, really good still. I can't wait to see the fall color on this year. It's supposed to turn like a magenta color, but it's supposed to keep that watercolor variegation. So I'm really excited to see that. We have some coleus over here that really didn't do much, honestly. Like, I don't think I'll do that again over here. We have a couple of remaining heuchera that have made it from the squirrel massacre. But it's enough to where they don't look like scrawny or like just a couple in there. There's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 made it. And then when you come around the corner, you're confronted with our tidal wave purple petunias all the way around the corner, and the new companion fountain right there. This fountain has been amazing. It has been so easy to keep it like clean and everything. I've literally cleaned it one time, and I only had to clean like the little fountain pump, not the actual fountain itself. Yeah, the only thing about this fountain that I have not liked is that it's in a lot of wind. So when the wind blows, a lot of the water goes right out of the fountain. Like these just go right out the fountain, and I have to refill it. That was just something that I didn't really think about. It's honestly something I've never had to think about because all of our fountains have just automatically been in sheltered locations. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider when you're installing a fountain, is try to keep it out of the wind. We have a bunch of milkweed, which I think just looks like too much up here, and it's all gone to seed. I'm gonna chop a lot of this back. The Nicotiana over here looks really, really pretty as well. I've been pretty happy with this bed. All the boxwoods in it look good. Like everything looks good in this bed, which I'm kind of excited about. In this bed over here, we have more tidal wave purple petunias, more of that watercolor Nicotiana that looks really, really good as well. More watercolor Nicotiana looking great. And then in this bed over here, we have Gomphrena, just a couple of them. Phantom Hydrangea Standard, which I'm really excited that it's actually leafing out, because you guys saw when we first purchased it, it literally looked dead, but I told you guys have faith because the one back there that we have, it literally looks good as well. And it looked exactly the same as when we got this one. So just have to have some little faith in planting. The hydrangeas all the way around it still look very, very healthy as well. We have Sahara Rudbeckia right here in the front. And it goes down along this side. I really like the colors of this. It looks so dreamy. That pale maroon to like creamy yellow. So pretty. The pinkberry snowberry bush over here. This, I've been really happy with it. The minute I placed it, I kind of thought, is this like where I want to put this? But these pink berries look so, so pretty, and they are so bright and vibrant and just kind of add some sparkle to this area. And over here we have an urn that we moved from the fountain area. I think because this is at the end of the line, it just has low pressure and it wasn't getting watered. So I'm probably gonna rip this out in the next week or two and plant this up for fall. And then the rest of the bed is just Nicotiana, which looks really, really good still. More tidal wave purple petunias over in the front. And then we have gladiolas right here that were planted really late. We haven't seen any blooms yet, but they all look really healthy and they're coming up. So we'll see. It's a garden with risk worth taking because they were only $3 a bag. So the impatiens in the pathway are doing well on this one side. They look really, really pretty on this one side. So you can just focus on this side. Don't even look at the other one. And you guys can see the hydrangea wreath that I made just this past week. It's holding up really, really well and looks pretty. The containers, this one does not look great because it just gets a little bit more shade. Yeah, it needs to be rethought. This one looks amazing, in particular from the side. But I just love how these coleus look from the side, how they're creeping over to the fountain. I just think that that is such a pretty look. And it definitely emphasizes to me that I need to buy a planter to go right here to cover up the cords and plant more coleus, because I think that a whole wall of coleus with that fountain just tucked in would look so good. All of the planters on the porch look really good, in particular from this side. So we have this one right here, which is the triple tier, and it has tidal wave silver at the bottom, St. John salvia in the center, and then red petunias at the top, flanked with Dusty Miller. And the Dusty Miller and the red have been just a really striking combination that I think I would repeat again somewhere else. We have tidal wave petunias in this trough that are looking really spent. Same with this one, it's looking pretty spent. It's still pretty prolific, but still kind of spent. This one looks amazing, and it's because it gets more sun, but you guys can really see those Dusty Miller at the top here. That St. John salvia performed really, really well, and this is its second or third time putting out a flush of blooms. Very productive, and even when it's not in bloom, I really like that dark blue greenish color leaf. And then at the bottom, I have more tidal wave silver petunias. But I'm really happy with how these containers turned out. They were way different than anything else I've ever planted. I've never done white and red before, but I'm really glad I did. The lemon tree is absolutely insane. It's put off so much growth this year. It's at least tripled in size. The hanging basket looks pretty good. It's starting to get spent as well. Petunias at this time of year just start to get a little scraggly. You could definitely cut them back, but it's so late in the season, I don't know that you would necessarily get another flush of blooms. So I'm just gonna leave them like this, and I'll probably be pulling a lot of my summer containers within the next week or two. Just a quick highlight on our phantom hydrangea tree because it looks absolutely beautiful and it's starting to get its fall color. There's like light dustings of pink on all of the blooms, which I think is really pretty. We have our Rose of Sharon hibiscus right here. It's bloomed out quite a bit this season. We have our drift roses. They're starting to put on second flush of blooms or third flush. Beautyberry bush, it's got blossoms on it, so hopefully we'll get some berries because we've never gotten berries off of this before, and that's the whole reason I planted it, because it's supposed to have magenta bright purple berries. The grapevine arch has done so well. This is the prettiest thing. I look at it from this window down here. This is my office, and I just look up at these cascading vines with this oak leaf structure, and it looks like a fairy tale to me. I just find it to be so, so pretty. Even the tendrils are really, really pretty to me. The way that it's like wrapped on to the structure, so pretty, and it's grown so much this season. I cannot believe that this is from bare root and it got this tall this season. Really excited about that. I'm not gonna show you guys what's in the raised beds because I just did a video on that this week. And if you want to see what's going on in the raised beds, you can click up here and see that. But I will show you guys the melons because they are still growing. They're not huge, but they are putting on a bit more growth. I have noticed it, and I've been giving them extra water, hoping that we get a ripe melon. I don't know, it's pretty late, but they are a decent size. I think they're about halfway where they're supposed to be, so maybe, we'll see. The pumpkin on a stick looks really good. I think those are like fully ripe. They look like a crayon or something. Like, they don't even look real to me. They look like fake pumpkins. It's so pretty. And I think that's gonna be it for this area. And now for the other side of the grass pathway. We have our dinner plate hibiscus over here, the Luna. I grew this from seed, and this has bloomed so much this year. Last year was the first year that it bloomed, and it maybe put off 2 blooms last year. This year it's put off probably 20 blooms, and every time a bloom is done and fades, another one opens. So it's like it's always in bloom, which is really nice. More of that day and night snapdragon, which I cannot recommend enough. We have our Limelight hydrangea here, and it's really starting to change colors as well. Look at that, like, iridescent pink that's just around the edges. I think it gives it like a metallic quality. It's really, really pretty. We have petunias. These are tidal wave pink petunias. We have a penstemon. This is the cut leaf penstemon that finally bloomed, and that's a nice color echo. I love those little blooms. We have a David Austin climbing rose right here, which has put on a ton of growth. I think I'm actually gonna be able to train this year, which I'm super excited about. I do wanna highlight my delphiniums again because I want him to get a really nice, good close-up shot of these because I'm so impressed that they're reblooming for me. We have some Shasta daisies over here that are starting to rebloom. I also have a clematis that is just going absolutely crazy. Did not bloom at all this year. It's probably not the best location for a clematis. This is the north side of the home, so it tends to be a little shady. But we're experimenting with it. We're trying. Lots of perennials that have been cut back, feverfew. The Roseanne geranium still looks good. So impressed with this. I cannot believe how much growth this Winecraft black smoke bush put on. It's insane. And I'm thinking about maybe turning this into like a tree form because it's giving us like that perfect stem right there. I feel like I just need to chop this off and chop that undergrowth off, and that will be like the perfect smoke bush tree. I'm really, really thinking about that. That heuchera looks absolutely amazing. I love the mounded look of it. I don't know the name of the variety. I wish I did though, because I would buy more of it. I'm probably going to split that up this fall and transplant it around because I really, really like that plant. And then we have our Bloodgood Japanese maple, which is doing well. But yeah, that's everything over here. And I think that that's pretty much the end of this tour, right, Matt? Yep. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what looks good in your garden right now, because I feel like my garden, it's not ugly by any means. There's tons of blooms everywhere. It's just, I feel like there are lots of holes, and I feel like I'm just missing some plants that would carry me through this late August, early September season, right before that first frost comes in. I just feel like there's just a couple of other plants that I need to start adding in. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys around for whatever video I come up with for next time. And sorry that videos have been so spotty lately. My health has been a whole journey, which I'll explain in a different video, because I think I might be getting a diagnosis pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.